And thank you, President. Thank you, Raju Madam. Thank you, Mr. Balachandar, for the kind invite. And I would also like to thank my good friend Murugraj, for having me connected with the Rotary Club in Guindy. So let me, like the President, I think, started with an invocation. Let me also start with an invocation from my line of business, which is teaching. And I mean, it's not totally out of place, because I saw in the video that Rotarians is about touching million lives. My job, my profession is about teaching not millions, but maybe thousands of students over the lifetime. So let me just invoke and then start with the talk on cryptocurrencies.
Professor, by any chance you will be able to access your video? We are not able to see you on the screen set.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Can you? Okay, let me just share my screen. It says only the host can share in this meeting, so you need to give me host rights. I mean, make me a co-host.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Okay, so there are slides here. I mean, can you see the slides?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Video on panna mudiyuma? Video on pannikala?
Video on
Then he is logged in two accounts.
Oh, okay.
So I'm in yeah.
Okay, fine.
So Akandamandalakaram Vyaktam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vannatha Shri Jagannatha Madguru Shri Jagat Jagadguru Amatma Sarvabhutatma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Okay, so I'm going to talk about cryptocurrencies and in general about money, the journey of money. This is the cryptocurrencies are the most exciting new entrants in the world of fintech. So I'm going to talk about first I'll just introduce what is money, the journey of money very, very briefly. And then talk about why has this new denomination of money, so-called cryptocurrencies, why have they come into existence? What is the problem with the current setup? And then talk about how many cryptocurrencies are there? What is a cryptocurrency? How does payments happen in this world? Contrast it with fiat money. And then talk about what problems, regulatory issues that are there in India, and finally talk about what kind of impact can cryptocurrencies perhaps have to the Indian economy, and what kind of impact can it have to central banking. So I'll share my thoughts on that. So so this has been the journey of money. And most of you would know that we had an economy that was the currency used to be in Vedic times used to be the cow. From there we moved on to gold and silver, and then to copper, brass, nickels, which are minted coins, and then we have paper money, and then checks, credit cards, and this is the world of fintech. Now the credit cards that we use, the debit cards that we use have chips, and you can now do transactions using mobiles. Biometrics are coming in a big way. Apple Pay in the US is along with Goldman Sachs, is revolutionizing payments in the US, and that revolution will also come to India. So from here, Quo Vadis, or where do we go? So why is the world of economics or economists looking at this cryptocurrency and the viability, and what advantages does it have, and what are the concerns with the current system of money that we currently have? So if you just look at data, I know how much money is there in India. So I often ask this question to my students, and the answers vary. People say, okay, it's 100 trillion, or in India we call it trillion, a lakh crores, and so on. So the actual amount of money supply that we have, which is, and I'll keep it very, very basic. The money supply is defined in two ways in India. The most common one is what is called as broad money, M3. It includes just simple two things: cash that we have in our wallets, and deposits that we have in banks. So when you combine these two, that's the total money supply, and it's about 180 lakh crores, 180 trillion rupees is the total money supply in the economy. And if you notice, money supply has increased after 2004, without making any political statements here, just data. Money supply increased significantly. Okay, so it's increased from 1966 onwards till about 2004. That was the money supply increase. From 2004, it has skyrocketed big time. And India is not an exception. The most egregious increases in money supply have happened in the US. This is not the forum to talk about quantitative easing and so on. So with fiat currency, the government has the lever, or more precisely, the RBI and the banks have the lever to change money supply. And as we go along, I'll talk about why does it matter. I mean, why should we even worry about money supply? So I'll get there. So there has been concern about the government increasing money supply as much as it wants, and it truly can do that. A common misconception that I normally hear when I interact with people in, especially in India, is that the currency that we have is backed by gold. Okay, I mean, that's not true. Currency since 1973 is not backed by gold anywhere in the world. All we have right now is a fiat currency. That currency is not backed by any other. So if, during demonetization, if you went back with a 1,000 rupee note, all that the bank would promise or the RBI would promise is, I'll give you I can give you a paper currency in other denomination, but I can't exchange it for gold or anything. So, there's a common misconception that we have, is that rupee is backed by gold, which is not true. Now, how does cryptocurrency solve this problem? And people use, again, Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies synonymously, like we use Xerox and photocopy. Xerox is just a company which used to manufacture photocopying machines, and people just say Xerox it. Okay, so similarly, people use Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies interchangeably. Bitcoin is by far the most popular cryptocurrency currently, and the market share is more than 50%. Rest all, be it Ethereum, be it Tether, I'll talk about them also, which are called as altcoins, alternative coins, that comprises less than 50%. Now, why has this been in, why would Rotarians in Guindy be interested in a topic like this, or why would the government be interested? Or, it seems like a lot. I mean, I'll talk about some of the things that are happening in India right now. So it seems like there is a lot of buzz around cryptocurrencies. And why is that so? That's because some people have made a lot of money by investing in Bitcoins. How much money? Now, this started in there was a crash in 2014. There's a bit of history which I'm not going to talk about. I'll introduce, I'll do a brief history of Bitcoins, but 2014, there was some problem with the exchange with Bitcoins. So I'm just looking at 2015 onwards. So 2015, one Bitcoin in rupee terms was about 21,500 rupees. Okay. Currently, this is data as of yesterday. Currently, one Bitcoin costs 22 lakhs 21,000. Okay, so the money has multiplied 100 times, more than 100 times in less than 6 years, a little more than 5 years. And naturally, when a speculative activity where people make 50 times or 20 times money, even double the money in 2-3 years, there's a lot of buzz around it. Now, so it has seen the cryptocurrencies and Bitcoins, especially, which is the #1 cryptocurrency, that has seen 2 cycles, what we call as a bull phase. It has seen, you could also call it, it has seen 2 bubbles, one in 2018. And just recently, last month, this bubble crashed. I mean, in April, this was about, cryptocurrencies where about 1 Bitcoin was costing 44 lakh rupees. Okay. And the value has come down by half in 3 months. And the precipitous fall has happened since China banned it last month, exact same day, 21st of June, China banned cryptocurrencies, and that day there was a significant fall. So there has been the buzz. The reason why there has been a buzz about cryptocurrencies because some people seem to have made a lot of money, made a killing, and and everybody is like, can I make money using this? What is it, and how is it useful, and so on. Now, very briefly, how can we think about these 2 currencies? We will use something that we already use to understand something that is new. So fiat money is physical. You can actually use paper currency and electronic. You can do electronic internet banking transfers. Cryptocurrency is just you use it using wallets, and wallets are nothing but they have files which link to addresses to crypto money. So it's essentially digital. You have, how do you transact? You transact using notes. These days, very few people use coins. And, in one nation typically has one currency. Europe is an exception. You have a monetary union there, and there is one currency, the euro. But typically, it's one nation, one currency. So how many cryptocurrencies are there? Right now, as we speak, there are about more than 4,000 cryptocurrencies. Okay, #1 is, of course, as I mentioned, Bitcoin. As I've already shown you, the increase in money supply, the government can increase money supply as much as it wants. And that is not possible with cryptocurrencies. So Bitcoin, for instance, has already set a maximum limit that it will issue only 21 million Bitcoins. Okay, right now it's about 18 million around. But that's the limit that they have set for themselves. There's nothing to suggest that that limit cannot be breached. It's an algorithm, that can happen, but that's a limit that they set when they started. Now, this currency is issued by money that we use right now is used by central banks. In India, the central bank is the Reserve Bank of India, RBI. And this is actually produced by private networks. Okay. As I said, this is completely centralized because money is issued by banks and the RBI. And here in cryptocurrencies, it's completely decentralized. The government has got, or that was the premise, that the government would have nothing to do with money. We all can deal, among ourselves. Why should we involve the government necessarily? That was the premise under which cryptocurrencies started. So what are the characteristics of cryptocurrencies? They use encryption techniques, very significant encryption techniques to create money. It has no intrinsic value like fiat currency. Okay, it has absolutely no intrinsic value like fiat currency. There is no physical form. It only exists in a network. And it's not determined by one central agency like a central bank, like the RBI. How did it begin? How did it all start? So this started in 2008 by a hypothetical person. Some of you may have heard of this name, Satoshi Nakamoto. He's a hypothetical person. Nobody knows who is that person. There have been, most probably he's not a Japanese person, because the way he writes the papers and the way he puts comments in his codes, it seems like he's a native English speaker, or maybe a Japanese American, but Satoshi Nakamoto is not a real person. Okay. I don't want to get into why, why the person hasn't chosen to come out. There are a lot of conspiracy theories. We don't want to get in there. So there was a paper that appeared in 2008, and then an actual implementation, the software code, came in 2009. It was open source in the sense that it's available for everybody. So that's basically and with the timing. If you look at 2008, there was a lot of occupation in the Occupy Wall Street thing was going on. The place where I used to work, 40 Wall Street, all that was actually occupied, and there was a lot of angst in the US about the government bailing out banks and bailing out other organizations like General Motors and so on. AIG, it didn't bail out Lehman Brothers, but it did bail out AIG. So there was a lot of angst among the people that they can just print as much currency as they want and help more powerful businesses like banks who have a lot of lobbying power perhaps, and so the timing coincided with global financial crisis. The foundations are there in economics. It uses a lot of cryptography, which comes from computer science. It also uses game theory. I'll explain how how game theory comes into play here. The jargons that you would hear are wallets. I mean, we think of wallets as a purse, as a physical thing, but wallets in cryptocurrencies have a very different meaning. I'll talk about. We'll see what that is. We'll talk about. I've already mentioned altcoins. There are crypto tokens, which is what you actually use. There is what is called as a private key, public key. I'll again talk about that. Blockchain. What is block? What is a chain? What is the chain of these blocks? What are miners, mining rigs, initial coin offerings, and so on. Okay, so we'll talk about all of these. What are the good features of cryptocurrency? One is that it's finite. As I mentioned, each cryptocurrency has set a limit for itself. Bitcoin, for instance, is 21 million. It's divisible right now, though it's not a big problem. I mean, but we don't use 10 paisa, 15 paisa, 20, 25 paisa, 50 paisa, all of that. So that all of that is gone. Okay. So, but you can with cryptocurrency, you can actually pay 0.002785 bitcoins. Okay, so that's possible. So it's completely divisible. The transactions are irreversible. For instance, if I'm buying fruits or vegetables, I just give some currency notes. If I don't want that, I can get back that money. But in the cryptocurrency world, that transaction is completely irreversible. So that person has to do a reverse payment to me if it's annulled. And you would often hear this term called as pseudonymous. It's not anonymous, but it's pseudonymous in the sense that you hold cryptocurrencies, and that is basically an address, but people won't be able to necessarily track back to who you are, not necessarily, and it's global, it's permissionless, and one of the features that people don't understand and find it a bit intriguing is that cryptocurrency is not as fast as internet banking. Okay, it takes about 10 minutes to do a transaction because the batch is processed in about 10 minutes and mining takes about a couple of minutes. So it's at least 10 minutes. We all have done internet banking, you can do RTGS, NEFT, whatever, and it takes less than a minute, less than maybe half a minute. You do two-factor authentication and you're done. The mantras are here, decentralization and lack of trust in the government. So, and how many exchanges are out there? There are 43 exchanges globally. Okay, and the biggest exchange is Binance, and it's number one with altcoins. So what is this? Blockchain all about? Okay, so and I'm going to use, given the audience, I'm just going to use an example of spreadsheets. Everybody has used Excel spreadsheets, so I'm just going to take the example of a spreadsheet and try to explain this. So think of a spreadsheet that has it has a lot of rows. Okay, not millions, billions, trillions, zillions of loans, gazillions of rows, and we all can add new rows to it, but you cannot modify a row. Okay, so you cannot change that. Now how does with money, how do things work? RBI knows how much currency it has issued. Banks know how much deposits they have, and whenever there is some new money that needs to be given, RBI either prints currency or many of you may not know, but the way money is created is by giving loans. Okay, so that's how money is generated by a central by authority, central bank, and they have given banking licenses to some public and private sector players, and they are the ones who are increasing money supply. But here it's a distributed ledger, or it's like a ledger which is kind of distributed. The database is spread among every single person in the node. It's a network. And the way transactions work is, and let me take two quick feedback. One, how much time do we have? Because I didn't ask Mr. Balachandra when how much time do you all have? And secondly, I can teach. I teach looking at the calendar. Okay, when I teach doctoral courses to our FPM students, I just look at the calendar, not at the clock. So I'm used to teaching 4 hours, continuous without any break. But I don't want to bore all of you. But so I just want to get a sense of how much time do you have. Depending on that, I'll go into details. Secondly, would you want me to get into the cryptographics and technicalities, or just talk about more, what kind of exchanges, how do you invest, valuation and stuff? I mean, the more business and economic side of it. So if you can just give me feedback, really quick feedback on these two, how much time do we have, and would you be interested?
Yeah, maybe Professor, we have about, maybe you can take about 10 to 15 more minutes.
Okay.
And then
probably
that gives
me the answer for the second one.
We also have a question and answer session after this. So we would have,
So I'll skip the encryption and all of that, but very quickly, how does this particular thing works is that you have something called as a wallet, and the wallet is nothing but addresses to so you can think of it as an address. Think of it as multiple Bitcoin addresses that basically link to to a repository. Okay, so the money doesn't sit in what is called as the Bitcoin client, not in the software that you have in your laptop or your mobile. The money actually sits on a server, which is kind of distributed. And what you have when we have a wallet, it's not actually kind of physical notes, but it's actually an address to that, pointing to that particular money. And you can the way you transact is basically just initiating a transaction. It's very it's fairly secure and all that. So I'm going to skip the given that I have only 10 minutes, I'm going to skip all of that and talk about valuation. I can take technical questions during the during the question answer sessions. So people have this question about what is the value of a Bitcoin? I mean, it's like right now it's 22 lakhs something. What is the fair value? Is it too high? 44 lakhs? Was it too high? 22 lakhs? Is it too high? Get a sense of it. Okay. So you can think of cryptocurrencies as either an asset, like a stock, bonds, financial asset. You can think of it as a commodity. So in my view, it's not an asset. People think of cryptocurrencies as a commodity like gold or silver. It clearly is not, because gold and silver have intrinsic values. Cryptocurrency is more like fiat currency. So it is a currency. Some people also think of it as a collectible. Okay, so there is whenever there is a bubble, there is also these peripheral industries that come, ancillary industries that come, which trying to make a quick buck. So there are these art collectibles, digital art, and so on. Which are called as non-fungible digital assets. Okay, so it can also be thought of as a collectible. My view is that it's a currency, and what is the problem with valuation? Valuing the currency. Like all of us know, Zomato is doing its IPO right now, and the price band is 72 rupees to 76 rupees. We talk about market capitalization is about 61,000 crores. Okay, give or take a few thousand crores here or there. I mean, maybe plus minus 5% max. But as investment bankers, we work with some price bands when there is an IPO. But if you want me to put a value on Bitcoin, would it be 10 lakhs? Can it be 50 lakhs? Okay, it's very, very difficult to say. So and given that we have very less time, I'm just going to give my take on cryptocurrencies. I think that the value it's a fad. We'll talk about the advantages, where all can it be used, and so on. But there are people who, like me, who believe the value is nothing. It's there are people out there wanting to make a quick buck, and there are also others who think that perhaps it can go to as high as a crore. People think of it as there are different frameworks to do to think of the valuation. You can think of it as scarcity because it's at the end of the day it's capped, like Bitcoin's 21 million. So you can think of it as scarcity. Or you could use what is in economics, we use the quantity theory of money, which basically says that the amount of money supply in the economy should be proportional to how much the GDP is increasing. Meaning, if people in India are doing a lot of work and people want more money to do their transactions, so money should keep pace with increase in GDP. However, that's not true with cryptocurrencies because there's a set limit, and that's something, the fine tuning by the central bank cannot be done using cryptocurrencies. Okay, people think of it as a replacement to gold. In my view, clearly is not. Gold has intrinsic value. It has a store of value for thousands of years. You can use it as jewelry and pass it on from generation to generation. You don't know 10 years from now cryptocurrencies would they exist in the form and shape that we know right now. So it's clearly not comparable to gold. People think of it as there is like gold needs to be mined. There is also mining that happens with cryptocurrencies. You need a very heavy infrastructure. So think of it as a network. Let's say all the Rotarians here are the network, and people are doing transactions. So some Rotarians would actually validate the transactions. Those Rotarians are called miners in the cryptocurrency world. Now they have to invest in what is called as mining rigs, and they cost a lot of money and they consume a lot of electricity. You might be wondering, okay, why is he talking about electricity? The amount of electricity consumed by just mining rigs currently is equal to the annual consumption of electricity in Switzerland. Okay, country like Switzerland, how much electricity it consumes in a year is consumed by mining rigs in a year as of now, as we speak, and that can actually increase because that electricity consumption went up from Sri Lanka, countries like Sri Lanka, and so on. So it can perhaps go up even more. Okay, so there's a lot of cost. The cost right now, that people estimate is about 360 million. That's the cost of, and clearly we don't need 360 million dollars to print currencies, all currencies, everything in the world. So so people think of cryptocurrencies as costless. They are not. I mean, the validation takes a lot of there in terms of time, effort, algorithms, and so on. Okay. Now, again, I have maybe 4 minutes precisely. So I'm just going to talk about so it seems like a bubble to me. And if you look at the past bubbles, I've been part of two. As investment banker, I was very close. I was in telecom, media, and technology when the .com bubble burst happened. We used to do IPOs of telecom companies, technology companies, and so on. The kind of price levels that we saw way back in 2000, 2001 when the .com bubble crashed. We are now, after almost 20 years, we're getting to see that kind of levels. Okay, so, but cryptocurrencies have like zoomed big time. Okay, so you can see this is basically how cryptocurrencies look like. And very quickly, let me get on to how can you trade cryptocurrencies, how can you use cryptocurrencies. So you can actually buy them on an exchange. The fees is quite low, unlike if you were buying stocks in NSE or BSE with something like a broker like Zerodha. Of course, brokerages have reduced, but with cryptocurrencies the fees is even lower. And most exchanges support, out of 4,000 cryptocurrencies, most exchanges support at least 200, 300 cryptocurrencies. So you can do a lot of trading in cryptocurrencies. Okay, now exchanges have been hacked in the past, so it is what I want you to know. So not all tokens are susceptible to hacking, but they have happened in the past. So I'll talk about the most recent one in South Africa that happened just a few months back, couple of months back. But the most egregious one, and from the most unexpected place, like Japan. So there was a heist of $530 million that happened in Japan. Okay, so it's not as if cryptocurrencies cannot be gamed, or there cannot be theft in cryptocurrencies, notwithstanding the security features that have been put. I'll come to the current, the most trusted, so-called trusted exchange in India, but let me just talk a little bit about the kind of heists that have happened in other countries. Okay, so somebody quoted Warren Buffett at the beginning. So somebody like Warren Buffett thinks of it as it's something that it's a fad, and investors will join the bandwagon and they'll create their own truth, but for a while before a reality check happens. BlackRock CEO, for instance, Larry Fink, he calls it as an index of money laundering, because it's very easy to launder money with cryptocurrencies because it's pseudonymous, it's not anonymous. What are the problems that are there in India? Okay, so you might have followed this bit of news about WazirX. The Enforcement Directorate, ED, just last Friday issued a notice to this cryptocurrency exchange called WazirX for violating the FEMA Act, which is the Foreign Exchange Management Act. And there have been transactions worth about 2,800 crores. And Chinese companies, Chinese investment apps have actually been fraudulently given paid money through WazirX. So the Enforcement Directorate is going after WazirX. And you might have probably heard of this particular, this is also very recent news last week, called United Credit. United Credit is actually a cooperative society, and they claim to have a tie-up with a firm called Casha. That's a crypto asset player, and they were planning to offer virtual currencies from I think this month onwards. But the industry body of cooperative banks that has put a stay on that. I mean, they said no. I mean, they can't do that. For those of you, I don't want to get into too much historical regulations, but please be careful if you are planning of investing in cryptocurrencies, because regulatorily, very few countries, including India, think of it very favorably. And again, happy to take questions when on this later on. But US is not friendly at all. Senator Elizabeth Warren, some of you may have heard this name. She's a academic who ran for. She basically was a candidate for the Democrats. Lost out later on, but she has essentially said that by 28th of July, the SEC, which is the regulator in the US, needs to come up with explicit guidelines so that people, and because of the danger it poses to consumers. China has banned June 21st. China banned all financial institutions and payment companies from providing cryptocurrency transactions, all kind of related services related to cryptocurrencies. All of that is banned. That day when China banned, Bitcoin fell by 31%. The number 2 coin called Ethereum, that fell by I think 40% and then there's a coin called Binance Coin of the biggest exchange, that fell by 30% and so on. So regulatorily, again, UK watchdog finance, is called the FCA. I think it's called Financial Conduct Authority. It has asked Binance, which is the largest exchange in cryptocurrencies, it has asked Binance to cease all regulated activities within Britain. Okay, so within UK, no activity by Binance, which is the largest exchange in the world. And why has this turn happened, and why is this bubble kind of crashing right now? Because of this scam that happened in South Africa. The biggest heist in cryptocurrencies is not the $530 million that I showed that happened in Japan. It happened as recently as April this year. by two Indian South Africans, two brothers actually, and there was this heist of 3.8 billion worth of Bitcoins. Okay, $3.8 billion worth of Bitcoins. So South Africa is cracking up, is basically, increasing its regulatory, walls to make sure that that kind of thing does not happen. In fact, in January, there was also this company based in South Africa called Mirror Trading International that some $170 million of cryptocurrencies disappeared. So these kinds of things happen, notwithstanding. Now, which are the countries which are for cryptocurrencies? Again, something that you may have heard. El Salvador has said that it will adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. El Salvador is the only country which has currently said we will adopt a legal tender, but we all know about El Salvador. And there are other countries like Iran, Venezuela, and even Russia, which are more supportive of cryptocurrencies. So Russia optically it says that, but people think that Russia has, wants cryptocurrencies to develop. The countries that are favorable, have a regulatory favorable regime are countries like Iran, which obviously for, they want to get around the sanctions and stuff. So that's why they're quite friendly towards cryptocurrencies. India is not, by the way. RBI is clearly not. I don't have the time to go over the RBI regulations and stuff, but I would just say that please be very careful if you are thinking of investing in cryptocurrencies. The technology is very, very good. You will find use of that blockchain technology in land records. It will be used in other places, but perhaps not as funny. Also, because this is not a good reason, but another reason why it may not succeed is because the incumbent, the central banks and the banks, which have the power to create money supply, they would outwardly, they'll pay lip service and say that, yeah, we want innovation and all that to happen, but they would never ever want to let go their power. Okay, and for good reasons. I mean, there are very good reasons for not letting go that power. And it's so the RBI, the old RBI guideline was very critical of cryptocurrencies, and the way you think ED is going after WazirX, and how the industry body of cooperative societies and cooperative banks are going after. Even there are the 50,000 cooperative societies. One society says we will allow cryptocurrencies, and all hell breaks loose. So the drift. Okay. So I'll pause there and end there and open it for questions.
Fantastic, Professor. That was so nice. I know that you can go on for hours and hours and hours, but for want of time, we have restricted you with the limited knowledge what we were able to get. Thank you so much once again. Now there are few Rotarians who have posted their questions on the chat box. Probably I would take it one by one, and then I also request members to post their questions on the chat box so that I can present it on behalf of you to Professor. So the first question goes this way from Rotarian Srikanth Anandal. Probably he wanted to know what will be good to hear about how mining is done if time permits. If you feel it's a big thing, probably if you can. Yeah.
Sure. Let me answer.
Yeah.
I'll answer that. And there was this question: can we get a copy of the presentation? Absolutely, yes. So that was my last slide. So if you want it, you can. I mean, I'll send it to you, but I need to know your email address, or I can send it to Mr. Balachandran and he can distribute it. But if you want, just email it to me. So the question is about how mining happens, right? I mean, that's what.
Exactly.
So let me go through an example, simple example of how a particular transaction works. So let's say that let's say A is paying B. Okay. So what let's say I am paying Mr. Balachandran. Okay. So I would have a wallet. Okay, and a wallet is nothing but a file that has access to Bitcoin addresses. Okay, that's what a wallet is. Okay, so I will initiate a transaction using my Bitcoin client. Bitcoin client basically means the software that you have on the on your desktop at the client end, a desktop or laptop or mobile phone. And there will be, so when I say I'm paying Mr. Balachandar, there will be the address basically consists of two things, a private key and a public key. I only have, so think of it as when we go to a bank locker and you operate a bank locker, we have one key and the bank has another key. So think of the bank as having the public key and I have the private key. Okay, now what miners get to see, and miners, who are miners? Miners are basically people in the node, in the network, who are validating transactions. Okay, so they would have access to the public key. Okay, and using the public key, they'll verify, they can verify that do I have the money that I'm claiming I'll pay Mr. Balachandar, and is the private key, is my private key right? They don't have my private key, but they can basically check that it's coming, it's tagged with the private key. Okay, and then you basically calculate something called as, so in terms of the computations, what happens is this address, you can think of it as a particular block. Okay, so why is it called a blockchain? So think of the transaction as technically what is called as a hash value. It's basically just a series of numbers and alphabets in, they go from 0 to 9 and A, B, C, D, E, F. These are called hexadecimals. What miners do is basically verify, is this transaction a genuine transaction or not? Okay, I can get into more technicalities if you want, but I'll leave it at that. Miners get paid for doing this, for providing this service. And the way, and one of the primary reasons why the money supply has increased to 18 million with Bitcoins is because money paid to miners. How much money is paid? Right now, the money that is paid is about 6.25 Bitcoins for validating one transaction. That's not small money, because remember, one Bitcoin is about close to $30,000. So just mining one transaction gets you close to $200,000. That's a lot of money. Okay, serious money. So that's the kind of money that miners are making. Why do they need to? And obviously, all of this is paid in Bitcoins. And why do miners invest in all this, mining rigs, which consume so much electricity, and the CPU, and which costs a bomb? Why do people invest in that? Because you can get that kind of returns, and only one miner gets paid. So there may be many people who may be trying to validate the transaction. Only one miner succeeds. There is a way. There's an algorithm, mechanics for deciding who wins. And again, they've ensured that people with the best computing power needn't necessarily win. So there's some kind of randomization that happens, but people are making serious money in Bitcoins, and a very large, the reason why, and people get paid in Bitcoins, that's how money supply increases. Okay, so people like me, I think it's a fad because I'm not part of that. And if I'm getting paid like $200,000 for validating a transaction. Surely it involves a lot of computation power, algorithms, and blah, blah, blah. But I'm not very comfortable with people getting paid for just validating transactions. Okay, they claim that eventually that will go to zero. But if it goes to zero, who will do the job? So anyway, that was my, but if there are other things that you want to understand, what is the norms or what is about hash functions and so on, I'm happy to go into the technicalities of it.
Fantastic, Professor. Thank you. Now we have a very interesting question from one of our Rotarians, Rotarian Venkat. In the backdrop of so much uncertainty, would you recommend crypto or Indian stocks and mutual funds if one weren't greedy to make money overnight? So what is your take on that, Professor?
So, sir, I will put the usual disclaimer that I normally do. So as an academic, I'm not allowed to give, recommendations on stocks. There are professionals, banking professionals, which actually do that. They do that for a living. But, given that it's an informal, or maybe I'll just resist from doing that. But clearly not cryptocurrencies. Wait for. See, think about it this way: if the RBI ever wants to implement money as cryptocurrencies, it can just buy one of the startups and just make it. It will still be central bank controlled, but it will have all the nice things about that is there in cryptography and cryptocurrencies. So it's very unlikely that the central banks and banks will allow it to succeed. Eventually, if it does not succeed, valuations will drop big time. And right now, there is a lot of propping up that's happening. People artificially increasing valuation of cryptocurrencies. After some time, reality check is bound to happen. And something that does not have the blessings of the law of the land, does not have the blessings of the government, it's a very tough ask for something like that to succeed. So clearly, don't look at cryptocurrencies as an asset class. And I can give you a generic answer on stock versus mutual funds. I think I'll skip. I'll skip that question if that is okay.
Thanks, Professor. One request to you, Professor. Can you just stop sharing your screen so that people can see you clearly, and then I can also bring in the person who has shared the question. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Professor. That was so nice. Yeah. So, and then we have an interesting question from Rotarian Venkat again. Is the Indian Brothers scam in South Africa a remote reason for targeting Indian in the current turmoil, where Indians are specifically targeted? So that is his question. Maybe technically I'm not able to understand. Probably you will be in a better position to understand.
Yeah, no, it's the Gupta brothers. I'm sure you're probably following what's happening in South Africa. There is unprecedented violence and also violence against Indians, which is quite unfortunate because Indians have been supporters of ANC, the African National Congress, not cryptocurrencies. It's the Gupta brothers. I think you all have heard about the egregious marriage spending and the wedding gate and all that. So that's why the collusion of the former regime with Gupta brothers, that is what is creating a lot of angst against Indians, misplaced angst. But it is not it's not because of Rais Kaji or Amir Kaji or this cryptocurrency exchange called as AfriCrypt, the $3.8 billion. People don't understand cryptocurrencies all that well. Yeah, what's happening in South Africa is completely unfortunate, but that's because of the Gupta brothers, nothing to do with AfriCrypt.
Directly, yes, Professor, not directly linked to the Gupta brothers, but is the public reputation spilled over where common man assumes Indian to be the prime target, because a lot of Indians have been targeted and their wealth have been destroyed?
Yes, the shops have been destroyed. In fact, they're now clubbing Indians with the whites.
Rumor mongering. What I'm trying to tell is rumor mongering, where net it boils down to hooliganism targeting Indians.
That's right. But sir, it's got nothing to do with cryptocurrencies. People don't understand. I mean, very few people actually understand cryptocurrencies. People don't, not even aware. I mean, when I talk to people in India, they're not even aware of something like a 3.8 billion heist by AfriCrypt. So unlikely that people know about this. It's mainly the Gupta brothers thing that is basically affecting the Indians. And I mean, this looting and, I think Indians have, so it's got nothing to do with cryptocurrencies.
Okay, thank you.
That was so nice. Any other questions, Rotarians? Do you have any questions? Please raise your hand.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
Professor, just wanted to bring this one up. See, if the Indian government has got such hesitation in opening it up, why are they allowing exchanges like WazirX and all those things to operate at this point of time?
Because no, WazirX is actually not. Yeah, WazirX is not based out of India.
Right, so, but can they block it? Because I still think a lot of people can go into an exchange like that and start investing money. They might lose it also, right? Is that something that can
so I mean, see, that cannot be blocked, right? I mean, what you watch on YouTube or what you do on Facebook bans ads of cryptocurrencies. Okay.
So WazirX takes KYC also of.
They do KYC also,
correct, right.
But they do KYC. KYC is mandated all over the world. But WazirX is not based out of India. None of these exchanges are actually based out of India. They're based out of Cayman Islands. WazirX is based out of Cayman Islands. I think so. I don't exactly know, but I think it's based out of one of the tax havens, most probably Cayman Islands. Right. So they don't have. Indian laws cannot go, and there's nothing that we can do. Now, what is there to stop Indians from, if let's say you have money in the Swiss account? A lot of exchanges, by the way, have set themselves up in Switzerland because of the banking laws in Switzerland. We all know the famed Switzerland banking laws. For those of you who don't know, the most safest havens till recently used to be the Swiss banks, because you think of Union Bank of Switzerland and CSFB, Great Swiss First Boston, the kind of private banking practice that they have is and the kind of wealth that is there in Swiss banks is enormous, because Swiss bank laws do not allow anybody else in the world to know who has that money. So if somebody has money, if let's say, for instance, me, I have an account in the US because when I was in University of Connecticut, I was, my salary would come there. I still have, dollars there. So now I can use those dollars to trade and buy cryptocurrencies. Now, what can Indian government do about it? I mean, of course, if I bring that money back to India, I have to pay capital gains and all that, the tax things will follow. But Indian government cannot stop people from investing. Today I can buy things on Amazon in dollars, right? I can just get it shipped to any of my friends in the US and ask them to bring it back. So it's something like that. Think of it as a commodity. I can buy a commodity online using whatever money I have. Why would Indian government stop it? I mean, you get the sense, right? I can use my credit card to buy something online, do a dollar transaction. All of us do that, right? You think instead of buying a thing, a tangible thing, you're buying an intangible thing. Why would
at some point of time, let's say they want to monetize that Bitcoin into a local currency at that point of time.
Then the tax laws are very clear. Even in the US, in India, depending on the time horizon, you have capital gains. The normal tax laws follow.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. So please, if somebody is investing in cryptocurrencies, please keep all records, just to be sure.
Members, any more questions? Probably, Professor, we also have our Reserve Bank of India's general manager here participating in the meeting. She happens to be an also.
Sure.
We have she's here probably for you.
Madam,
can you?
Hello, Professor. I'm Sujata here.
Hello, Sujata.
I truly appreciate the presentation here. Sorry, Mother. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely fine. Yeah, thank you. And any more questions, members?
Just one last question, Professor. In short, the Indian government or the RBI doesn't stand by you in case of any legal recourse that you want to have, if something were to go wrong.
RBI doesn't stand by you. They wouldn't, right? I mean, that's not their job. I mean, so if, let's say, I invest in cryptocurrencies, I'm taking risk with my money. They would say that don't. They would stop all Indian firms. They have only purview over Indian firms, Indian financial institutions and stuff. They'll say you can't do that. But if I do something outside, I don't think RBI would object to that, or they. So honestly, I didn't get the question. When can you just repeat it? And,
a legal recourse. If I lose my money in Indian Cooperative Bank, there's RBI trying to give some shelter.
Yes, so there is this DCGIC. If let's say you use not cooperative banks, but with banks, commercial banks, scheduled commercial banks, you're insured up to 5 lakh rupees, right? I mean, your deposit principal plus interest is completely secure up to 5 lakh rupees. So that is there by the DCGIC, the deposit insurance is there. But there is no insurance for cooperative banks, because let's say I want 2% more interest and I'm taking that risk. Why would RBI says, okay, you put your money in normal banks and I'm giving you guarantee. If let's say I'm getting in a cooperative bank 2% more, I'm taking that risk. Why would the RBI, guarantee that? They're giving me an option. I think that's good enough.
One last question. If someone has paid a lot of money sitting from India, right? And if something were to go wrong, hypothetically, because the power consumption is so high, as much of an annual consumption of Switzerland, going forward, it's only going to increase. Keeping that in mind, 2 years down the line, if someone from 22 lakhs, let's say it goes to 60 lakhs. If something as a central grid breakdown, is there a possibility of something breaking down where the money is completely evaporated?
No, sir, that's not possible because you have something called as a cold storage and a hot wallet. So cold storage basically means that you have which is offline, and it's completely untouchable via the internet. So it's completely offline, it's safe from hacks. So they keep it on cold storage. So even if all the power supply is gone for a month, the data can still be stored. That's not a problem. So it's not as if that if there is a global power cut, money evaporates. So that won't be. That's not. Those basic checks are taken care of.
Okay. Okay.
What cannot happen is people won't be able to validate transactions. People won't be able to transact. That's something that cannot be done. But what is there in the wallets is there safely.
Okay.
Fantastic.
And it's perhaps more safe because then people cannot hack and do these heists, and people cannot run away like these South African folks have done. They're now in an undisclosed location because people are just after them for their money. They're getting death threats and stuff. Anyway, so
fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Professor, nice, can I have a word, please? I'm Sujata here. Can I just have a word?
Yeah, sure.
I would just like to just make a small correction. The cooperative banks are now covered by the DICGC.
Yeah, they are. They are.
The societies are not, but the banks are covered. Yeah, I think Mr. Venkat.
But I don't think but it's not 5 lakh rupees. What happened was when Punjab and Maharashtra cooperative bank went down, there was a lot of hue and cry about people's money being there, and so that's why the coverage was increased. But RBI still does not basically go and it doesn't ensure capital adequacy and all those norms, CRR, SLR, all those norms that are there with fractional reserve banking. That's still not there with cooperative banks.
Yeah, they have a different kind of regulations for slightly different. Right. Yeah.
Also for NBFCs also. I mean, they have a different set of regulations for NBFCs also.
Yeah, I think the regulator for cryptocurrency is not yet finalized in India, isn't it? There's no regulator as such. We don't know whether whether it should come under SEBI or because it's not a currency per se. So even you were saying it's not very clear. What kind of how do you evaluate it? So Mr. Venkat was asking why would RBI get into something which it does not regulate? So
So think about money is the domain of the RBI. They do monetary policy, set interest rates, all the open market operations that they do. All of that is RBI's domain. And I mean, I can get into the philosophy of why RBI should be regulating this. But if you just look at the global comparables, be it in the UK FCA takes care of cryptocurrencies. They are the ones who banned Binance. So the natural regulator would be RBI. SEBI would be looking at, so just cryptocurrencies per se. But if I want to trade cryptocurrencies, then SEBI can get into it if there is an exchange in India. But as of now, most of the exchanges are in tax havens. Some of them are in Europe. But till such time we have an exchange, proper exchange in India, and where Indian laws will be applicable, it's unlikely SEBI will get into the picture. It will be RBI's regulatory baby, if you'd like.
Thanks for your views.
Fantastic. So may I now request Rotarian Venugopal to propose the vote of thanks.
Madanji, yes. Just now before this, I just want to. I'm having one more question.
Okay.
When I started this speaker meeting, I was in impression. Okay, I will get a lot of ideas to invest in cryptocurrency. Okay. Then when it comes to end. Sir says cryptocurrency is not good thing. Then I know I'm not only myself and everyone might feel that from the movie Thiruvilayadal, Nichayama idu enakilla like this. So people are away or think because a lot of I think IT giants are invested in cryptocurrency. Okay, maybe government may regularize this after some years, but so people are thinking, okay, if the government regularize it after some years, we might miss this opportunity. Okay, a lot of people has made money in this. We might miss this as a middle class people, as a common man. When we see someone is making money in a cryptocurrency, we feel like this we are missing. But Doctor, you clearly said that it is, since it's not legitimate, it is not RBI is not regulated, it is not safe. And now the title of our speaker meeting also suits here. Sit back and watch your money grow by not investing in cryptocurrency. So I think we'll get it right there. Thank you, Professor. And Madanji, I just request member director Sridhar sir to introduce new member.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, all. I'm not sure how many, a lot of new names, but I'm not sure who are all the probable RCG members. So I would request whosoever is interested in becoming a member of RCG to unmute and introduce themselves. I think we have one visitor through Mr. Venkatesh, but they would like to introduce themselves at a later date. Kanchana is her name. So I will, if there's no one, I will request President to take the proceeding further.
Yeah. Thank you, Sridharji.
Yeah.
So, President, can I go ahead with the by proposing vote of thanks? May I request Rotarian Venugopalji to propose the vote of thanks?
Yeah, please proceed, Ji.
Yeah. Venuji, I request you to propose the vote of thanks, Venuji.
President Motish, Speaker of the evening, Professor Vaidya, RCGN's invitees and friends. Professor, I must confess that your reputation seems to have preceded you. For the first time, I'm touched by the number of participants who had logged in before 7 o'clock this evening. To cross 56 members right at 7, maybe the halo of the Bitcoin and your reputation were in place to have so many of us listening to you with rapt attention. Certainly, by the end of this session, each one of us must be envying your students at ISB Mohali for the amount of concentrated information and knowledge that you are able to share with listeners and students to understand the subject in depth. Compliments to you on that. Certainly, we express our regrets that the time must have been short for you for a session of this nature. I certainly appreciate the caution that you were bringing in at every stage so that we do not get lured into the world of cryptos. We certainly look forward to a longer session and an elaborate session so that we can get enlightened to be doubly cautious than be speculative in putting our hard-earned money into prospective, profitable deals for the future. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and looking forward to yet another session with you on the subject or on economics in general. For all of us, further to COVID is guessing on the trajectory that the economy may take for the future. Thanking you on behalf of all RCGNs. Friends, it's a pleasure and look forward to seeing so many participants in every speaker meetings that would follow from today. Take care, be safe. Good night to all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Venuji. I would also like to add on to this. I would like to thank Rotarian Giri Prasad for presenting the 4 Vaidyas today, and Rotarian P. Sridhar for the thought for the day, and the beautiful intro session done by Ann Rajalakshmi. Thank you all for this excellent presentation. So may I now request all the members to stand up for the national anthem. I don't have the video to play. Probably we may all have to sing the national anthem. Sorry about that. So I request all the members to stand.
Yes, sir. Madan, Secretary's announcement.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. In a hurry, I forgot to make the secretary announcement. So now we have Rotarian Rafiq and our Rotarian Jamima celebrating their wedding anniversary today. And we have Rotarian Rotarian Amrapati and Rotarian Senkatir celebrating their birthdays tomorrow. We also have our Anat Gautam celebrating his birthday tomorrow. Anat Gautam is the Anat of Rotarian Radhakrish. And we have KS Praveen Raj, Annette of Rotarian Srinivasan, celebrating his birthday on the 23rd. And we have Praveen Sridhar, Annette of our Rotarian Sridhar V, celebrating his birthday on 24th. And Sarah, Annette of Rotarian Satik, is celebrating her birthday on 24th. And we have our Mahesh Babu, Rotarian Mahesh Babu, celebrating his birthday on the 25th. Thank you, members. May I now request the members to rise for the national anthem. Probably we may have to sing. I thought Shivaji will be there to present it, but I don't see him around. So may I now request the members to stand up for the national anthem. Thank you, members. So let us sing it. Janana mana atinayaka jaya he Bharat bhagya vidhatha Punjab Sindhu Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Vanga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Uchala Jalati Taranga Tava Shubha Name Jahe Tava Shubha Ashisha Mage Jahe Dava Jaya Gatha Janagana Mangala Dhayak Jaya Bharat Bhagya Vidhatha Jaya He Jaya He Jaya He Jaya 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 He. Thank you, members. So now I unmute all for networking. Thank you, Professor.
First you adjourn the meeting. Request
I need to. I
before
request
this,
our President Motish to adjourn the meeting.
Before this, now I just thank all the Changemaker presidents, all the members who joined today, and we have our next speaker next week, our regular speaker meeting on Wednesday, 28th. I request all to join. Thank you. This Rotary Club of Guindy weekly meeting adjourned now.
Thank you, President.
Thank you, Modesh.
Thank you, sir.
Nowadays, we don't know. See, all the people are crazy to invest loss-making company. In Zomato's past 13 years, they have not made a single year profit. Still, it is oversubscribed. So you wanted to
applied for it?
No, sir. 100% no, sir. If the company is not fundamentally strong, we can't take a risk.
Recording cut பண்ணுங்க மதன்.
Just stop it.
Yes, Modi ji. Yeah, I'll stop it here.